I was still sitting on the edge of the bed when her fingers went into my bag. No hesitation. No shame. She flipped through my wallet like it belonged to her, pulled out my bank cards, held them up to the light, smiled. "This is for the family budget," she said, already sliding them into her pocket. I looked at my husband. He didn't flinch, didn't speak, didn't stop her. That was the exact moment something in me went quiet. Not broken, not hurt, clear. I used to believe love was enough. When I met him, he spoke softly and promised safety. He said we would be a team. He said his family was my family. I believed him because I wanted a future that felt warm, not guarded. His mother hugged me on our first meeting. Too tight, too long. She said I was lucky to marry into a respectable family. I mistook possession for protection. The early days were gentle. Shared dinners, polite laughter, small compromises that didn't feel dangerous yet. Then my salary doubled. That's when the questions started. Casual at first. Where do you keep your savings? Why do you need a separate account? Families don't hide money from each other. I smiled, I explained. I reassured. I learned later that reassurance is an invitation to take more. The signs crept in quietly. Bills I didn't recognize. Withdrawals I hadn't made. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Once I caught my husband scrolling through my banking app on my phone. He said he was just curious. I let it go. I shouldn't have. Trust doesn't shatter all at once, it erodes. And erosion leaves patterns. I started watching instead of reacting, listening instead of confronting. I noticed how my mother-in-law tracked my spending better than I did, how my husband reported back to her, how decisions were made without me but using my money. They didn't think I would notice. They thought silence meant obedience. That's when the planning began. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't warn. I separated my finances quietly. Redirected income. Set alerts. Froze backup cards. Documented everything. Dates, amounts, messages, voices. Then I did something simple. I let them think they'd won. I left the cards where she could find them. I watched her take them. I let my husband believe I was still the same woman who would swallow disrespect to keep peace. Peace is expensive. Justice is precise. 20 minutes later, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered with confidence. That fake authority she used when she thought she was in control. Her smile vanished in 3 seconds. Her voice climbed an octave. Then another. She started shouting, denying, pleading. My husband stood up. "What is it?" he asked. She screamed his name like it was a lifeline. I stayed seated, because I knew exactly who was on the other end. The call wasn't from the bank. It was from an investigator. Turns out, using someone else's cards without consent leaves a trail, especially when those cards are tied to flagged accounts, prior reports, and a neatly organized file of evidence. I'd filed everything earlier that week. Not to accuse, just to document. Documentation has teeth when it's patient. Her hands shook as she tried to explain. She said it was a misunderstanding. She said it was family money. The voice on the phone didn't care about family. Neither did the law. My husband looked at me then. Really looked. For the first time, he realized I wasn't confused. I wasn't emotional. I wasn't weak. I was done. He asked me quietly what I'd done. I stood up, took my bag back from the bed, checked that everything I needed was still there. I protected myself, I said. His face drained of color, because protection was something he'd promised and failed to deliver. The confrontation came later, when the shouting stopped, when the house felt hollow. His mother blamed me, called me manipulative, cruel, ungrateful. I let her speak. My husband tried to apologize. He said he didn't think it would go this far. He said he never meant to hurt me. Intent doesn't undo damage. I slid the folder onto the table. Copies of statements, screenshots, timelines, a mirror of everything. They thought they'd hidden. I know, I said. That's why I didn't stop you. That's when it hit them. Not anger. Fear. I left that night. No dramatic exit. No slammed doors. Just a suitcase, my documents, and my dignity intact. The fallout wasn't loud. It was surgical. Accounts locked. Access revoked. Consequences unfolding one by one exactly as planned. I didn't need revenge that screamed. I needed justice that echoed. Now, when I think back to her rummaging through my bag, I don't feel rage. I feel gratitude. Because that moment revealed everything. Who they were. who I had become. I learned that silence can be strategy, that patience sharpens outcomes. That calm is terrifying when it's deliberate. They thought they were taking from me. What they really gave me was clarity, and clarity is expensive. But it pays in full. Every time.